Coming to you from his downtown Denver studio, here's the Backstage Jazz Radio Show with your host, Steve Roby.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Backstage Jazz Show. I'm Steve Roby. Today's guests are legendary jazz pianist and former Denver Public Schools music educator Neil Bridge. Joining him is his wife and muse, vocalist and collaborator Karen Lee Bridge. The Bridges will perform at Dazzle on Friday, October 6th for his 7 p.m. show. Tickets are available at dazzledenver.com. Go ahead and get some tickets now. Welcome to Backstage Jazz, you two.
Oh, thank you very much.
Steve, thanks so much for having us on your show. We sure appreciate it.
It's an honor and a pleasure. I sincerely mean that. It's great to have you here.
Thank you very much. We really are thrilled.
Why don't we start with a brief overview of your careers and when you began collaborating? And let's start with Neil.
Oh, a brief?
As brief as possible.
I started piano when I was 8 years old. My mother wanted me to play in Carnegie Hall. When I was a teenager, I heard this radio station in the nearby town play Count Basie, Kenton Woody. That's the way I want to play. I mean, I love Chopin and all that, but you have to play every note the way it was written. If you change it, critics and everybody, they'll just crucify you. So I went in, I said, jazz, that's because I never play a tune the same way twice. You know, maybe the introduction and something in the middle and, of course, an ending. Anyway, that's what got me started. And then I went to New York City, and that was a blast.
I bet.
I was there when 52nd Street was smoking.
Wow.
I mean, within 3 or 4 blocks, you would hear Bird in one club and then go a couple of doors down. There'd be Bud Powell, and then another couple down. There'd be Miles Davis, Bird, et cetera, et cetera. And that 52nd Street was something else.
I can imagine.
And then after that, I went into the Air Force. And I got into a band, and there was an alto sax player in the band who tried to play like Bird, and we rehearsed almost every day. And on a gig, we only played a tune one time because we wanted to learn tunes. Mm-hmm. We played one time, and then we go to the next tune, etc. Then when I got out of the Air Force, I went to their conservatory, New England Conservatory of Music on the GI Bill. And that was so great. Studied music education, played in Boston around the area 6 nights a week, man. It was great. My wife at that time didn't care for the East Coast. So we moved back to Denver. I said that's the only, she wanted to come back, you know. She was from Roswell, where I was stationed in the Air Force. She wanted to come back. I said, well, the only city that's probably going to be worth any jazz will be Denver. So I came here in 58, and I've been here ever since. I was fortunate enough to play with some really great musicians. Of course, I was with Johnny Smith for over 30 years. Mm-hmm. I got to tell you the story. I went on the road with Dakota Staton. She was popular in those days. And when I came back home to Denver after about a year, I went up to the bandbox where that was the local hangout for jazz musicians. And this young vocalist was singing there, and her name was Nancy Wilson. She was only probably in her early 20s. And she asked me to go on the road with her.
Nice.
I said, yeah, I don't think so. Though. You believe that? I turned down Nancy Wilson.
Why?
Because I didn't want to go back on the road with another female vocalist.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't feel ready for it. And then about a year or so later, I heard her at the Hollywood Bowl. And I said, geez, you mean I turned her down?
Well.
I got into teaching, and I was very fortunate So it cut me some very great musicians. The highlight of my life was meeting my wife, and that was in
Well, we got married in 92,
92.
1992.
Yeah. And here we are.
All right. Well, Karen Lee, I guess you're up to the mic next.
I was raised in Scranton, Pennsylvania. I was very, very fortunate to have great education, great teachers growing up in the arts. And for me, it was all about kind of lots of different arts. It was theater, it was dance, it was singing. It was just, as long as there was a stage where I could get out there and perform, I was a happy camper. My parents did, get me involved in dance class, and I had some music lessons, and I had all the, kind of introductory lessons. But the dance I took very seriously at that time and had a marvelous dance teacher. What happened was I was fortunate to have, I'm third generation in the entertainment industry. My grandfather, Max Kierson, was a promoter in show business. And he promoted he started in the 20s. It was like 10 cents a dance or something. And he was, had these bands. And then suddenly he was doing so well that somebody in New York said, "Do you want to try Guy Lombardo?" And it was New Year's Eve, and he brought in Guy Lombardo, and the place, Scranton, was just thousands of people came.
Wow.
And from that point on, he booked nothing less than the most brilliant, extraordinary musicians, such as Buddy Rich, Sammy Davis Jr., Harry Belafonte. I could go on and on. All the big bands, the Dorsey brothers with Frank Sinatra. And the big highlight was the Count Basie Orchestra for his 50th anniversary in show business. And I was 10 years old, and I'll never forget, Count Basie was on stage, and of course us grandkids were right in the front row there.
Nice.
And he did the thing he does where the band swells. It's really, really exciting. And then all of a sudden, Basie just does like a few little notes. And he had a navy blue shiny cap on, like a kind of like a conductor's cap with a braid on it. And then he had a pinky ring, and he had a gold chain necklace. And anyway, he turned and looked exactly and directly at me, and he winked at me. And I thought, somehow I felt like he was saying, "You can do this. Like, this is like, you can do this. You can take this journey,
right.
into the world of show business, into the world of music, whatever." I didn't know as a 10-year-old how spoiled I was, in that when I went to the first high school dance and all the kids said, "Wait till you hear the band." And we were like in this gymnasium, and the band is just terrible, right? I said, "You guys, you don't understand. This is not quality music." And they were like, "Oh, Karen, you're such a snob." I said, "No, I'm not, but you don't understand. Like the Count Basie Orchestra, this is definitely not the Count Basie Orchestra." Right. I guess I'm sharing this with you because I truly believe that my grandfather's influence and my Uncle Barry's influence as well. I mean, Uncle Barry was responsible for sort of, remember in San Francisco back in the rock and roll heavy days, Bill Graham was, well, my Uncle Barry was very, very much heavily involved with Bill Graham and booking, putting together Shady Management, being kind of involved with the Grateful Dead and all the rock and roll bands and stuff like that. And then my cousin Larry Gelb was a jazz piano player and wrote librettos for like Broadway and stuff. So I had like a real musical family. I just always saw myself as doing that. It's like, this is what I'm going to do. When I finally came out to Denver, and after years of doing the dance thing, and I worked very hard in the dance arena. I'm a former 2-time U.S. champion. And then I met my husband. And that's where I got into the Neil Bridge Academy of Music.
Great.
And, we've been happily married 31 years this September 23rd.
All right.
And I'm so glad that I am fulfilling my childhood dream of singing the beautiful quality jazz standards and songs from the Broadway songbook, Great American Songbook, with my husband's beautiful arrangements.
That's wonderful. And congratulations on your anniversary, too.
Thank you.
Great. Hey, you guys have a new album out called In the Key of Music, and we'll play a few tracks from it momentarily. First of all, can you tell us how the album came together and who it features.
It was suggested to us and by a loved one. And then we were able to be blessed with benefactors, which is like a biggie for us to do the album. And we also went with GoFundMe. And we were able to raise enough to really do what we had always wanted, which was Neil hears 4 horns in his head. He always liked to arrange for 4 horns. And so we were able to put together the band, 10-piece band, and we did it.
That's great.
We did it.
All right.
Yeah, we did it. And of course, obviously features Neil Bridge. He plays piano and Fender Rhodes. And he wrote all 16 arrangements that are on the album and plays on all 16 arrangements at then 93.
Wow. I could only be so lucky. Let's play some music now. The first track up is called Groovin' in the City. What would you like to tell our listeners about this song?
Well, that was written when we played the 5 Points Jazz Festival.
Ah.
And that was written I wanted a good opening number. So I came up with that number, Grooving in the City, because we were playing at 5 Points Jazz Festival.
A Neil Bridge original.
Let's listen to it now. This is Groovin' in the City by the Bridges. And we're back, and you're listening to Backstage Jazz. My guests are Karen Lee and Neil Bridge. Up next is another track from In the Key of Music. This one's called Come Back to Me. Who wants to tell me about this one?
Well, I guess that will be me since that's a vocal track. Come Back to Me just blew my mind, the lyrics to that piece of music, to that song. It's just incredible. Lyrics are by Alan J. Lerner. Music is by Burton Lane. And it was written for the musical On a Clear Day You Can See Forevermore. And I'm a lyrics person and melody. And when I hearing a song with lyrics like that, my husband, of course, loved the chord changes. So between the chord changes and me digging the lyrics, we were off.
All right. What a pair. Here's Come Back to Me by the Bridges.
Hear my voice where you are. Take a train, take a car, hop a freight, grab a star, come back to me. Catch a plane, catch a breeze, on your hands, on your knees, swim or fly, only please come back to me. On a mule, in a jet, when my hair's in a net, in a towel wringing wet, I don't care, this is where you should be. From the hills, from the shore, ride the wind to my door, turn the highway to dust, break the lock you must, move the world, only just come back to me. Your high, hear me call, must I fight City Hall, here and now, damn it all, come on back to me. What on earth must I do, scream and yell, till I'm blue, curse your soul, when will you come on back to me? Have you gone to the moon, or the corner saloon, and to rock and to ruin my monsieur, where the hell can you in a trunk, on a horse, on a drum, in a Rolls or a van, wrapped in silk or saran, any way that you can, come back to me. Come back to me.
And if you're just joining us, my guests today are Karen Lee and Neil Bridge. Let's talk about your upcoming show at Dazzle. Who will be joining you on stage, and what can fans look forward to?
This is a really cool group that we put together many years ago. It's called Quintessence. It's a 5-piece group. We have musicians extraordinaire, literally more than extraordinaire. Wayne Wilkinson on jazz guitar, just so brilliant. The great Mark Simon on bass, brilliant. They're all brilliant, all three of these, and Todd Reed on drums. Boy, when you get 3 world-class musicians like that, that really gets you excited for a gig. I tell you that.
Yeah, and that's a great place they have now too. They've moved to the Denver Performing Arts Center, and it's got a great vibe to it. Their new location.
Does it? We haven't been there yet.
Oh, you're in for a treat. It's a wonderful place. The sound is amazing too.
Well, Colin Bricker, I think, is the one that did the sound, and he's the one. We recorded our album with Colin Bricker in Denver, and then we had Bobby Burnham did the mixing and mastering in Ecuador. We had an incredible group of people involved in our album production, just incredible. But this Quintessence group, we wanted a 5-piece band, and Neil thought that Quintessence was a good title. Wayne Wilkinson, I don't know if you've ever heard him on jazz guitar, you must hear him.
Mm-hmm.
He's just unbelievable. Mark Simon was on the road with Carmen McRae, I think, for years. And Todd Reed has played with just about every famous musician out there, world-class musician you could imagine. So it's going to be a great gig. We got some new tunes for this show.
All right. Can you share?
I have to tell you one quick thing. Ellen Rucker, our dear Ellen Rucker, who has since passed, that we love dearly, and so does everybody else in the world. But she recommended a song for Neil and I to do back before she did pass. And we thought we would do it for this show. And we're very excited to be able to do this. It's going to be a duo, just the two of us. Right. Beautiful ballad.
Sounds wonderful. Yep. Yeah. Before I let you guys go, Neil, as a respected member of Denver's jazz community, do you have any words of wisdom you'd like to share with up-and-coming musicians? It's a question I always ask, but I always get some different answer, and I get inspired when I hear something like this.
Only thing I can do, Steve, is go by the path that I took.
Uh-huh.
I was very fortunate when I got in the Air Force to be around this alto sax player, and we learned all these tunes. And then with the GI Bill, I went to the New England Conservatory in Boston, wrote some arrangements. In fact, Quincy Jones played... When he was at the Berklee School of Music, he played one of my arrangements in the rehearsal band. I told him that one time when I saw him at DU, I think it was. My suggestion is believe in yourself. Believe this, I can do this. Everybody has to take their own way. I was fortunate to have a degree from the Conservatory in Music Education. So I fell back on that. I was married at the time. And so I used education as a backing, let's say. So that was mine. Now, I don't know if for a young musician, what path to take, but you got to believe in yourself and you got to practice. You got to practice and believe in yourself. Sometimes you will have to accept something to help you get along. It's the best way I can say it. Seems like there's almost thousands of musicians. And when I hear all these words, I say, where do they find work? I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
But don't give up.
Don't give up.
If you believe in what your future is and what your purpose on earth is, that's like when Duke Ellington said, he wrote a tune called What Am I Here For? He was saying, what is my purpose on earth? Each musician has to take their own path, but the greatest thing is believe in yourself. Yes, I can do this, and I will do this.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was really heartfelt.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Where can I send our listeners to find your music online? Should I send them to a website? Tell me more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. neilbridgemusic.com.
Okay.
And Neil is spelled with an I, Neil. So just www.neilbridgemusic.com. And when you get there, you'll immediately see that you can purchase the album. And it will kind of lead you as to how to do that via Bandcamp is how we're doing that right now.
That's great.
It's a wonderful one. Yeah. And we're so thankful to everyone who has bought the album thus far and enjoying our music. And we encourage everybody to check it out. There's lots of pictures and videos on there that a person can see without just browsing and having fun without, having to pay for anything. But it's a wonderful opportunity to kind of check us out and see what we're doing. And then if you choose to, you can get the album. And there's bio information about Neil and I and much more.
Great. I'll put a link to your website in the show description. And just a reminder to our listeners, the Bridges will perform at Dazzle in downtown Denver on Friday, October 6th for a 7 p.m. show. Doors open at 6. Get there early. And tickets are now available at dazzledenver.com. Thanks you two for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. And have a great show at Dazzle.
Thank you. It's wonderful talking to you. And my one last little comment.
Oh, please.
Neil wrote Neil wrote this for our album release party. May the gift of music help you achieve your dreams and personal goals throughout the rest of your life. There you go.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If you're enjoying the Backstage Jazz Show, we'd love for you to like, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Backstage Jazz can also be heard on Tavern Radio at tavn.org. And now, back to the show.
One's in the middle unmoved, waiting to show what he sees to the other two. To the one attacking, so afraid, and the one that keeps trying to love and trust, getting himself betrayed in the plan. Oh, the divine plan. So sweet, so overly loving and gentle. He lets people into his innermost sacred temple. Blind faith to care, blind rage to kill. Why'd he let them talk him down to cheap work and cheap thrills? In the plan, oh, the insulting plan. God must be a bogeyman. Which would it be, Mingus 1 or 2 or 3? Which one do you think he'd want the world to see? Well, world opinion, not a lot of help when a man's only trying to find out how to feel about himself. In the plan, oh, the cockeyed plan.
The Backstage Jazz Show was recorded at Little Raven Studios in downtown Denver, and our producer was Craig Stevens. You can find Backstage Jazz wherever you listen to podcasts and on the Tavern Radio Network, which you can find at tavn.org. Be sure to stop by our website, backstage-jazz.com, where all past and current episodes have been archived. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email us at backstagejazz@fastmail.com. This is Steve Roby. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Backstage Jazz.
You've been listening to the Backstage Jazz Show on the Arts Validation Network. Join us next time for more great jazz and interviews with your favorite musicians.